Welcome guys to our fourth lesson. On our fourth lesson today we'll be starting with variables, right? So if you are new to programming, this will be something new to you, and if you're familiar with programming, this will be fairly easy for someone to perform. So to do this, I'll want to start by creating a new file for Python. I don't want to use any of the files I've been using, so I'll go to my new to my folder and say new Python file, and I'm going to give it a name and say variables, and then it's going to create a Python stage for me, right? The font here is a bit small, so just allow me maybe to navigate back to this one where the font was a little bit bigger. I wanted to try it on a new page, but I realized I've not changed the font on each and every page. Okay, so now we're going to be speaking about variables. Now, what are variables? Variables are like containers, so they help us to store data, right? And then Python has no it doesn't have a command to define a variable, right? So we know variable are made up of two parts, which is the type of variable, whether it's an integer, a double, a float, a string, together with the name of the variable. So Python doesn't have a definitive command to create variables, right? So the minute we start assigning a value, then Python will assume that the variable will have been created. So we don't create variables in anticipation of what we're going to do. The minute we need a variable, we just make up a variable in our mind and start using it. The minute we put a value inside it, that's when Python assumes that this is now a variable, right? So you will see that we don't have to even mention the type of the variable. Python will decide for us what kind of variable is this, right? So I'm going to show you an example right now. So if we were now introducing variables, I can say I have a variable called x, and this x is equals to 5, right? So if x is equals to 5, I can leave it like that. Remember, Python does not use semicolon. I almost forgot there. So if I can just say x is equals to 5, then bring back the lesson we've learned previously to say print, and then instead of printing something, I print the value of x, right? And then I can just change the way I want to run my files here, and just change the navigation to say I want to run this specific file. So I can just go to the run and see what will be the results of this thing. So I'm going to press run. It's going to ask me what do I want to run. I want to run the syntax. So you can see on the results here, it prints the value 5, right? Where does it get the 5? Because it's getting it from the x, because we said x is equals to the value 5, right? And I can do this for different values as well. So I can go there and say the name. So I'm just coming up with another variable as well. Say name is equals to, then I change here, and then I say the name is equals to Tendo, right? And then now you will see if I go again and say within my print statement, I also want to include the name, right? Python will immediately pinpoint the variable I'm talking about. So x and name becomes the variable. So if I quickly just press run here now, because it's already set up, you will see on the result it's going to show me 5 and the name Tendo, right? So basically that's how it works on Python. You don't have to give it a type, you don't have to declare them and not have them without something, right? We don't do what we used to do in other programming language, where we are allowed to just say int x string name and then later on assign values to that. That has been removed on Python. We just use as we move, right? So this is pay as you go. It's a prepaid kind of method wherein when you need a variable, you can just come up with a variable on your head and start using it. The only time it will be recognized that it's a variable on Python, it's when you say it's equals to something, right? Before that, there is no variable. It's very important to note that. So if we were to include all the lesson we've learned so far, including the comments, we're also going to even maybe comment some few things here. So we'll say this is an integer, so integer value, right? And then I can come here and say this is now is a string value, right? So both these two, we can include all the lessons so that we don't forget what we've done previously. So we have now seen the printing function, we've seen variables, and then there are different kind of variables we can do as well, right? So we can do we can do a variable which is of comma, so I can say y is equals to 0.5, and Python will easily identify what are we talking about. So if I come here and I say print y, Python should be able to identify that we have a new variable which is 2.5, right? And it's as easy like that. There isn't much that we can dwell on here. It's just like that. But then you must remember now, once you have a variable, you are now allowed to go and make changes to that variable. So for example, you can go and say, you know what, after printing name, I want to change my name and now call it something else. So you can change name and say now name, instead of Tendo, it's equals to Tinashe, right? And then let's see what will be the effect of that if you again say print and then you say print the value name. Let's see what happens on that one. So basically what's going to happen is going to print 5, which is the previous values we were having, Tendo, which is the first name it was given, then 2.5, which is this value here. But then later on we then said the name is being changed from Tendo to Tinashe, then the new name is equals to Tinashe. It's very important to notice that. So we can just comment at the top here, or anywhere else where it will be fair for us. So we can come comment here and say changing the value for name, right? So that the next, as I've said, comments are used so that to describe what is happening on the code, so that the next person would be able to work with our code. Or if we're working in a group, the next person is able to adapt very easily on what's happening. Okay, so there are so many things that we can play around, that we can try to work with, and it will be very easy. The other good things that we must notice, which is found on Python, is the following. So allow me to wrap the following. Let's say I've got a couple of names that I want to give to people. So let's say I have a name together with a surname. So I can just say I've got a name, which in my case it's equals to Tendo. Then I've got a surname, which in this case will be my surname, so I'll put Bakari there. And then I've got, let's say middle name. Middle name, let me just put it in small letters, middle name. And then this one, I'm just gonna pick a name for myself, so I'll say I'm called Victor, right? So I'm allowed to go and say print the name, as you have seen previously, print the surname, and then print the middle name, right? So it will easily pick those up, and if I run this code now, you will see the changes. It prints both of those names that I've listed there, the name itself, the surname, and the middle name. This is pretty easy, right? But then something that other programming languages do not offer is the following. Now, if I can do the following, I can say name, comma, surname. I'm trying to perform the same thing, comma, middle name, right? And then I can put one equation to say the name will be equal to Tendo, comma, the middle name will be equal to, put my surname there, comma, and the surname, then the last middle name will be equals to Victor, right? And then that's it. That means I don't need these other last two statements. So this is some cool feature that we find in Python that is not basically found in most programming language. So if I run this, it should work exactly as the previous statement, right? You can see the results is still the same. So that is some feature that you'll want to play around as well. Okay, so maybe the other thing we can try to do is that we can do what we call combining the variables to get a desired output, right? So that's what I want to try to do right now, combining the variables so that we get a desired output. So how can we do that? We can do the following. We can say the name it's equals to, we can say let's just say day. Let's say day, because today is Friday. You can say day, and then I can put the day here as Friday, and then I can go here and say here is the statement print, and then I print as if from our second lesson we are showing you how to print. So I can say today is, right? And then if I say is, I can then just concatenate or add the particular day. So I can just come here and say today is, and then I put together what the particular day. But because I'm adding it from an existing output, I need to put a positive sign so that it can be recognized. So this shows that I am adding something on an existing output. So the existing output was to say today is, right? So for me to be able to add Friday, I must say plus the variable name called what? Day. So if I run this one, you'll basically see that it will put it in one line saying today is Friday. The Friday is picking it up from what? The variable day. Hopefully that is easy to implement, and then we can then do other multiple things as well. So we can have I can have different things that are being added. So I can say let's say, for example, I can play with addition, I can play with multiplication, division, and things like that. So maybe let's try that. So let's go and say I put my name, this statement called today is Friday. So I'll say the statement, right? Statement will be equals to today is, right? That will be basically the statement, and then the day will still be Friday. So let's put Friday there. The day is Friday, and then I can go and say final output. Final, let me just create a variable name here, final, or I can just call it output. Hopefully output is not part of the word from Python. Output will be equals to, and then I can call the word statement, which is the variable, plus day, right? So what this does is that it allows me to go and only call what? The output. So you will see what I've done. I've added today is Friday using a mathematical operation, which is statement plus the day, right? So what this does is put the result of today is Friday into the variable called output, and when I execute this, the results should still remain the same, still no changes at all. So we're almost done with our lesson on variable. Just remember that as much as we can perform mathematical operations,
You like them? Beautiful.
as much as we can
I have something for you.
as much as we can perform mathematical operation on strings, because these are strings types. So as much as we can perform operational statement there, we can also perform mathematics operations, the correct one. So if I have a value of x which is equals to 5 and I have the value of y which is equals to 2, I can easily perform a math operation. So I can say the sum will be equals to x plus y, right? And then I can go and easily print what we call the sum. Just like you saw in the previous exercise, the sum will be 7, right? And then I can put more mathematics operation here to say the difference will be equals to x minus y, right? And then the product will be equals to x multiplied by y. So that is the sign for multiply. You must just keep it in mind. And then I can say the division, the results for the division here will be equals to x divided by y. So I can easily call any of these results back. So I can go and print the product. I can go and print the difference. I can go and print, and then this time I think I'm only left with the division. So all these are mathematical operations that are easily performed. But then if you're gonna do something very simple like this, sometimes it's just much better if you don't include any of these long operational maths. You are also allowed to just come and say, let's say you're looking for the sum. You can come and say, show me the results of x plus y. I just want to see what it is, and it should give you 7 as the result. So it can easily perform maths operation even within the print statement. So before it prints, it goes and add x together with y and find the result. Then it can show you the results. Okay, so that will have brought us now to the end of what? Of our session on variables. But then maybe just lastly, we can go now and in fact we'll do it in the next lesson. We were dealing with data types. So thank you for attending this session. Watch out for the next one, which will be on data types.